Welcome to Soil and Soul, a new Christian podcast for those who want to invest in yields that count most. 5 days a week during planting and harvest seasons, Soil and Soul looks to help you sow seeds and reap a golden harvest.
And welcome back to Soil and Soul on our first week for this spring season 2026. I'm Aaron Lorch, and I've got my co-host here, Kayla Venner. How you doing today?
We're doing good. So far, so good around here. It's a beautiful day in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, sun's shining here too, but right before we clicked record here, and I heard from some other people, it wasn't so pretty and sunny just recently here, right? You guys had a pretty nasty storm your way, or?
Yeah, we did yesterday. Well, in the last week or so, we've actually got quite a bit of rainfall down here. So we are not at all in the field like you guys are up there up north. And then yesterday we had a very quick storm come through. The whole thing probably lasted 20 minutes, I would say, where it brought so my house where we were at, we were just on the edge of it, and we had a beautiful rain shower. We had some pea-sized hail, but even just very lightly of that. But just even like a mile and a half south of us, it kind of started, and it's just hailed like crazy. And then just about probably 7 or 10 miles south of us, there's a little town. They just got nailed with like golf ball size hail. They had some straight line, like 50-mile-an-hour winds, and so they have quite a bit of damage of siding on houses, vehicles, and stuff like that. And then it was kind of crazy because my husband needed to go down we have a feedlot down in that area by that town. And we had cattle out, of course, because why wouldn't we? During a storm. And so they were putting them in, and he was driving down there, and he's like, I've never seen like drifts of hail. Like it looked like snow drifts.
Oh,
the
wow.
fields are just covered. Yeah. He said it was just a really crazy scene, and then it's like sunny out with blue skies, and we've got these like patches of hail in people's lawns or the field or something. It's just wild. But
man.
No, we're not in the field yet. It's been wet. It looks really pretty right now. The lawns are all greened up, and my son just mowed ours the other day because it was getting long, and so we're getting that spring itch. The planting itch is coming. Guys are just wanting to get in the field.
Yeah, well, I can imagine that, the calendar says we should be, but then,
Yeah.
does your heart almost have like a mixed feeling with it? I mean, is it kind of nice to prolong it, or would you rather just kind of get it over with in a sense? I know I've been talking to some other people. I sure enjoyed this last year, 2025 season versus 2024, because in my neck of the woods, we had such that severe flooding, and literally planting lasted 3 months versus a solid 1 month,
Yeah, that's so true. Planting in general is kind of nice because it is such a shorter season compared to like harvest. And so, yeah, but like for you guys a couple years ago where, geez, you like just hardly got done with planting, and then you had to turn around and, then you're spraying, and then it's, all that stuff. And then pretty soon you're like harvesting. You spent almost 8 months in a field. It's not normal. But yeah, they're itching to get out there. There's only so much prep that you can do on the planters and the GPS systems and all of that, right? Until you just get out there and just get the planter in the ground and start going and figuring out if things are actually all working out like they're supposed to.
That's
so
true.
That's kind of where
Yeah.
we're at. Yeah. So my husband's been, and it's been kind of nice. He said just a little bit that they didn't seem like so much of a rush to like, oh my gosh, like everything's ready and we just got to get out there. So then you're fighting it more in the field. So just a little bit more of that, I guess, that can happen yet in the yard. But he did mention yesterday, he's like, I'm really at a point where I just need to get out there and just go and do it. And so if it didn't, it's predicted to rain again, some showers again tomorrow. But if it would happen to miss us, then we would have enough days here, it would dry up. And he's thinking that maybe later on Saturday or Sunday. He's not really thrilled about doing it on a Sunday, but he's like, it might just be one of those, if I can get out there for a couple hours even and see how it's going, so that next week they can really just hammer down and go.
Yeah.
But
good to just go out there for a little bit and you can kind of get the kinks worked out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at down here. And then I think the rest of us, as far as like family unit, we just know that it's all like inevitable. So just prepping ourselves. My 9-year-old, who is really just like a 60-year-old trapped in a 9-year-old's body, he's just probably the most antsy about getting out there. Like this kid just loves and thrives on anything farming. So he's pretty pumped about it. Every day he comes home and he's like, "Are they in the field?" And I was like, "Nobody. It rained."
He's like your little farmer, basically.
He is. It's really funny because even like a few of our hired men they call him the farm manager. And he's just
Oh, he goes around and he's like kind of monitoring everything, and next thing you
it's
know, he's gonna be
himself.
walking around with his hands on his hips, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's really good at that, at standing, in the shop or in the driveway there of the shop of while they're working. He's got hands on his hips and he's just watching, just waiting for his moment to be able to get in there. I'm like, oh my God. But
Uh,
everybody. So the other day when we could mow the lawn, he was excited that he could like do something. I was like, yeah, jump on the mower, take the gator around, pick up some sticks, mow the lawn. That'd be great.
Good. Yeah, so it sounds like,
So
yeah, it's gonna be the whole prep is, we're prepping to get in the fields. The farmers are busy prepping, but you almost have to prep the family unit too, because it's this whole season of the year that it really affects more than just the people that are physically in the field at any given moment. There's a lot of other people that get affected, and the kids and the wives and whether you're actually in the field yourselves or indirectly, and even just anybody else that you guys interact with too. Like I know for my wife and I, we purposefully got together with some close friends of ours before this season got started here, because we're like, well, we might not see you for a while. You want to get together and have some of those moments in preparation.
yeah, that's so true. Like, and then Scott and I talk about that too, of like, we should really get together with, these certain people and whatever, but they're all of our friends are farmers. So everybody's in the same boat of like also getting things ready for planting and whatnot and just itching to get out there. So maybe if it does actually rain tomorrow, we did talk about getting together with some friends before, because then once it does happen, you know that, and that's why you guys did it, because once that happens, it's going out or a social time is just probably really not going to happen for about a month or so.
No, you kind of just plan on that, and how often are we doing that too? Just in our marriages and within our families, you just it really does have a large benefit to have those plans ahead, because and I think we talked about this even last fall, like on this podcast, but just making the moments count, because that and you coming into a family structure that you might have had background in some knowledge of farming, or you might have had zero. Like my wife's from the city. She learned pretty quick, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but she had to learn right away that, okay, like not everything is planned out to a T far out in advance, because some of it's weather dependent. So you plan as much
Yeah.
as you can. You plan as much as you can, so that once that rain day does happen, okay, we're going to make this count. And it might be like, okay, we're going to plan a date night, or we're going to plan, even like a double date. You're going to go to get together with these such and such people, but we just don't have an exact date. We know it's going to happen sometime in the next week or so, whenever it rains next, right? Or,
Yeah.
okay, let's go do this event. And sometimes you unfortunately can't get around that. Like if it's something that's like something ticketed, or something that has a set date already because it's an outside source of something, well, then sometimes you miss out on that.
Yeah, exactly. You have to take advantage of those moments, which brings me to the end of February. Our county cattlemen's had their banquet, their scholarship banquet. And so my husband's on the board. So we were all planning to go to it, ready, it was on a Saturday night. Friday night, we had spent setting up and hanging out with, the rest of them and gotten dinner. And then Saturday night was the banquet. We were supposed to be over there about, I don't know, 4 o'clock or whatever. Well, it was like noon ish or maybe a little after, somewhere in there. We actually had a bale fire at our house, and that took up the rest of our day, was dealing with bale fire that happened. And so we didn't get to go to the banquet. And so those moments of like you're looking forward to, and then the farm happens, and then you don't get to take advantage of them. So I totally agree when those rain days or whatever, you just got to do them, because the farm will always dictate what you can and cannot do at times.
Well, especially when it's something that's like, you have to, like an emergency type thing like that, where you don't have really a choice.
For sure.
It's not like, well, I could work on XYZ thing around the shop, but I could also do it tomorrow night instead. But this is like oh no, this is a big deal. And so that sounds awful. Explain, well, first off, if the listener doesn't know what you mean by this, what exactly is a bale fire? Like, and how this was pretty severe then? And I can imagine,
it was.
I know about it, but
yeah, so unfortunately, something from our burn pile that day had blown out and it flew onto our pile of cornstalk bales. There were some hay bales in there as well, but it was mostly cornstalk bales. Something had gone out and the wind picked it up, and unfortunately it was windier than it should have. Like, it was all of the really like Murphy's Law. If it could go wrong, it went wrong that day. And so the wind picked up at that same time and went out of a different direction. And so it caught and something flew onto the stack of bales. And when they're all stacked up like that, like a pyramid, they're tight in there. So it just became a snowball effect the whole way down. And then we also never have that many bales actually stacked in that location at any time. We had just had our high school kid move. Then a few days before that, he moved all of them out of the field because, spring work and whatever was coming up. Yeah. And so they were all stacked up, and then they were closer even. So because we were having the grinder come that following Monday to grind up some stocks for feed and stuff. And so that it was just like a recipe for, like, you couldn't have like even planned that at all. And so then it just took off. And because it was just windy enough, it just kept going. And we lost probably about 1,000 bales or so between cornstalk and hay bales, and had 5 fire departments worth here. And
it's not just a monetary loss. I don't have the monetary loss alone of the bales, but also just the kind of the frenzy. And I can imagine you had 5 fire departments, because that's a really hard fire to stop. I don't think people realize, like, with the tight packed stocks like that, it just smolders forever and ever.
Yes, 100%. And so you try right away to somewhat like contain it and see if you can, while it's, before it really spreads, to try to get it, but that was proving impossible. And so we really were trying to just like communicate to the fire departments that we're never going to actually put this out. And so our best situation is to just do a control burn at this point, because we can't utilize them once they're burned and smoldering. We can't feed it. So we were really just trying to create a control burn. But when there's like 1,000 of them, you can also only try to control burn and then save. It's next to our commodity shed with other feedstuffs and then our equipment. So they were trying to haul them out into the field to just let them burn out there. Sure. So trying to save equipment and extra. And yeah, so it was a pretty chaotic and wild Saturday afternoon that we got to do in an evening rather than going to the cattleman's banquet. So
yeah, I missed out on a fun event, and it was because I know it was kind of like an ag related event, but honestly, what happened at the farm had to come first, because it was like your livelihood. Absolutely. And I mean, it could have spread and gotten a lot worse.
Right, 100%. And that's what, like, we just said right away, like when it was happening, and we checked in on all of our guys and stuff, and we just made sure everybody was okay. And at the end of it, right away, Scott and I were like, it's just stuff. This can all be replaced. It's very frustrating, and it's just an inconvenience more than anything, but it's just stuff. It can be replaced. We have insurance for a reason. Like, we'll contact them and figure out how we need to supplement, but everybody's okay. We had no major losses. Cosmetic to our commodity shed, which is a hard steel building and concrete. So, like, it is what it is at this point. And it was just, he just had said, he goes, more than anything, it was just really inconvenient. I said,
yeah, inconvenient.
Yep, it is. It really is. But
I mean, it could always be worse. So, I mean, if you weren't at home, imagine if you were on vacation or something, right?
Right, exactly. I said, and the wind, although not ideal for it came and it was blowing from the north, and it went south and took all those bales, but had it gone more north and really got out of control, it would have been, could have like gotten to our shop, and then it would have been our house. And all that. Like, it could have been so much worse, but really it was just bales. It was just bales and some burnt paint off of the shed, and you file an insurance claim, and that's why you got it, and then we move on.
That's right. Well, kind of like what I was just saying. The last thing is like, well, imagine if you were on vacation. So it's kind of funny. My dad is a little bit this way, where he doesn't hardly want to get off the farm. And like, I mean, he's old enough now. Him and my mom really should be going on vacation a lot more. And I'm not expecting them to be snowbirds or whatever. I mean, a lot of guys at some point do, but he's always had livestock. I mean, he's not going to get away from the farm too much, but he should be taking vacations more often, really, and giving a breather for everybody's sake. Let's put it that way. But really, a lot of times, especially during certain parts of the year, I mean, even in the middle of winter when it's great to get away and go to somewhere warmer, right, and enjoy the doldrums, away from the doldrums of winter. Well, he'll be like, well, there's a winter storm coming, or maybe there's a winter there's a time frame of all of January where there might be a storm, so I can't leave, right? Because I can't imagine being gone and leaving you guys around on the farm with the cattle. And what if we have some cattle die in a storm or something, which, so I guess the lesson there would be, and just a question of, do you live your life just constantly worried about what could happen, or do you still go out and take some sort of risk? And there's,
yeah, exactly.
You have to look at that with your family too. I mean, you can't just hold up in a house alone and never leave your home. And you got to take some risks, but you also have to protect yourself and your family as parents.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's so true. And I think that's really like everything in life, whether it's agriculture related or not, or whatever. You really gotta, you have your priorities, and you do have to stick with those, but otherwise, you can't live in fear. You can't live in the what ifs. And so you just do. And that's what, that's kind of what life is all about, is just like experiencing things and being in people's company, and, and obvious, faith obviously too is number one, and just living life and doing all of that. And you just can't be in fear all the time or live in the what ifs, what if in January we get a snowstorm and all these cattle? Well, it's actually probably really likely that that's going to happen, but
it's more likely than the summer.
Out.
Yeah, you figure it out. But you gotta, but you can't like not enjoy life with your spouse and with your kids just because of the what if, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
And even though, you said the words like the farm comes first, or the farm has to dictate, the same time you have to have a balance there where you're like, okay, my family comes first, or even faith before that. And then the farm really has to come third in all actuality. I know we always joke about like, oh yeah, the farm came first. But when it comes down to the overall picture, that's where it has to be, in the moment and in like scheduling. Yeah, it might definitely seem like, okay, like right now, this season of the year, well, yeah, like getting out in the field because you have a task that has to get done. It sure seems like farming comes first, but in the overall scheme of things, family needs to be above that, and Christ above that yet.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it just takes the balance, like you said, finding that perfect balance and making sure that everybody in all parties included, within the family unit, and even social life of friends that still feel that need and that desire to want to be around us, and making sure that those connections are still getting fulfilled, and still also the responsibilities of the farm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Well, yeah, that's probably a good way to bow tie it then, probably, at least for today. Okay, good. Well, I heard some kiddos in the background. You still on your way home then, or what's next?
Well, I just got home, and so now I gotta shuffle my mini farmer here, and then I gotta go pick up one from track practice, and this is probably my busy time of the day of like that after school shuffle and with the kids until about supper time, getting everybody where they need or want to go.
Sure. Well, it sounds good then. Well, I'll let you be on your next task. And for all those listening, thank you guys for bearing through our whole conversation. There's many more to come with this season, so look forward to it, I guess. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Soil and Soul, and we hope that it blesses you. Please stay tuned during the week for the other daily shows that we offer as part of this special ministry project we're providing during the peak seasons of planting and harvest. Also, if you'd like to find out more about Catholic Passage, how you might collaborate with us, or even support our mission, please visit us at CatholicPassage.com. Most importantly, you can support us with your prayers. We'll be praying for you. Please pray for us.